Welcome back to Demo Mondays. Demo Mondays is a video series where we invite different Amazon software creators and we ask them to present their product just like this on the screen. And today my guest is PickFu. And PickFu is presented by Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, Augustus. How are you doing? I'm doing well.
I'm doing well as well. So please tell us, what is PickFu and how does it help Amazon sellers?
Sure. So PickFu is just instant access to consumer feedback, to customer feedback. So for Amazon sellers that want to get an extra opinion or a set of eyes on their creative assets, like their images, product packaging, PickFu can help get really quick answers to those questions.
So I assume this is useful for any kind of Amazon sellers which are producing some kind of visual content on their product listing or their promotional material. But what languages and what marketplaces or regions do you support?
Yeah, so right now, PickFu, all of our panel is based in the United States. So generally people are using for the US markets. But with that being said, there are some really good applications for people selling. We have many customers that are in Europe, that are selling in Asia, that are selling in global markets as well.
Perfect. So let's start with your demo and let's see how PickFu works and how Amazon sellers could make use of it.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm going to start off, Augustus, by sharing my screen. The reason I wanted to come back and do this demo is to really have a streamlined demo, really explaining what is PickFu. And so the first thing I want to do, just to get an idea and just to show everyone how the tool works and how fast it is I'm going to start a new poll. And so we're going to have this running in the background while I'm doing the explanation of what PickFu is. And so basically what I've done so far is I've just gone and I've created a new poll. I'm going to do a test for a main image, right? And so imagine here, I'm going to go and pull up my files. Imagine here, I'm trying to sell a very hot product this year, which would be surgical masks. And I have a few different variations for a main image. One that just shows the mask itself, one that shows the mask with its product packaging, and then this other one that shows, the boxes with the masks next to it. And I'm just going to come here, and this is a very common example, right? I'm just going to come here and say, which image do you prefer for this 50-pack surgical mask, right? So again, my creative team, they've sent me a couple different options for my main image. I want a main image that's going to convert, that's going to have a high click-through rate. So I've gone here, I've written up my question, I've uploaded my images, and now I'm going to go to my audience. And so what I can do is I can click from 50 people all the way up to 500 people. And I can also target down to different audience groups. So if I would know a little bit more about my audience, I could pick their gender, age range, hobbies. But for right now, I'm just going to click, I want 50 people that are Amazon Prime customers, right? And then I'm going to start my poll. And we're just going to have this running in the background, right? While I go through the explanation, we're going to see just how fast this tool is. And I'm going to go through a couple slides because what I like to show is what are the most relevant applications for FBA sellers of using PickFu. And so I call this how to validate with PickFu. And so first and foremost, guys, Augustus is a great friend of PickFu. He's also an affiliate. So if you have not used PickFu before, I'd highly recommend go to pickfu.com/orangeclick, or you can use the code orangeclick and get 50% off of your first poll. We really don't release any discount codes. And so if you haven't used it before, I'd highly recommend you doing that and supporting the Orange Click channel and supporting Demo Mondays. So what this talk is going to cover today are the basic applications of PickFu. So these are things like product design, branding, copy, and images. I'm not going to really have time. This presentation is just going to be about 15 minutes. So we're not going to cover some of the more in-depth applications of PickFu like A+ content and video. It's just not enough time today. What I will say as well is I'm very fortunate. My only job here at PickFu is to help out sellers and to support sellers. So if you have questions, right, if you want to get help setting up your PickFu tests, if you just want questions on your listing in general, I used to run a creative agency for more than 2 years and I've helped literally hundreds of sellers. Hit me up, Anthony@pickfu.com, and I'm happy to hop on a call and help out in any way that I can. So with that being said, let's jump right in to what is PickFu. So first and foremost, like I said earlier, PickFu is instant access to customer feedback. So you start off with your idea, right? Whether it's your product design, your packaging, your branding, and you take that idea and you show that idea to our panel of more than 10,000 people, all based in the United States. And by showing them your idea, you're able to get real feedback on your creative assets. And so the question that I like to ask sellers is kind of, where are you currently going to get feedback? Right. And a lot of the sellers I talk to give three main areas, right? They say number one is they're going to their family. So they're going to their partner or their spouse and they're saying, hey, babe, what do you think about my product packaging? Another big one is sellers go with their gut, right? Their creative team sends them assets and they say, okay, this looks good. Let me upload it to my listing. And then last is friends, or maybe it's the random stranger in Starbucks. You go and you say, hey, what do you think about my main image? Right. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with any of these methods, right? Going with your family, going with your gut, asking random people. The thing is, they just might not be right. And so the thing that you really have to understand is this is the importance of consumer feedback. When a major brand like Nike or an Under Armour, when they launch a product, they're going to spend anywhere from $45,000 to $75,000 US per product on customer research. And it kind of makes sense as to why. If they're spending all of this time and money and effort to go and launch a product, they want to make sure that what they're putting out there, they haven't made some big issue or some big mistake that's going to compromise the launch of their product and is going to lead to a failure later down the road. And so my big urge to sellers, and what we're seeing a lot right now in terms of PickFu exploding in terms of growth, is that when you're running an Amazon business, maybe a few years ago, it was less competitive and you could really get away with half-hearted attempts at your creative assets. But now there's really a lot of big money. There's a lot of big players in the space that you're competing with. And so if your strategy for how you're going to create a good image set or how you're going to have good product packaging is just, going with your gut or asking your wife, what do you think about my creative assets? It's probably not the best strategy that you want to do. So today I'm going to walk through what the most common tests are. I'm going to go through all of these different things and kind of give you a visual explanation of how PickFu is used. The really cool thing about PickFu, which makes it a unique tool, we call it a split testing tool, but it's kind of not the same as another tool like Splitly, because this happens in a sandbox environment, right? And so really cool things about PickFu, number one is it allows you to pick a targeted audience. So you can filter down, we've got a whole bunch of categories by gender, age range, income, ethnicity, also different types of hobbies, like if someone works out a lot, if they drink wine. And so you can target different audiences that we've built in PickFu. As you're going to see today in the demo, it is super fast, right? A normal split test might take 2 to 4 weeks to actually get enough data to have enough traffic. A PickFu test is usually going to be done in about 30 minutes to an hour. And then what I like the most is that PickFu gives you detailed responses, and we're going to show what those detailed responses actually look like today. The other thing I want to mention, you'll see down there at the bottom, is that I'm going to show a lot of examples today. And so this is a question that we get a lot from sellers. PickFu is 100% private. So all of those 10,000 people on our panel, they are bound by really strict NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. And so any examples you see today, we either have express permission to use or they have been run by our internal team. So the cool thing about PickFu, this is a little bit about what the user interface looks like. A lot of people are testing, 2, 3 options at a time. Here you see 4 options. You can actually test up to 8 options simultaneously. We'll show some examples of that. And like I said earlier, PickFu is more than just votes. It's useful and detailed feedback. So, when I first started out using PickFu, sometimes people are focused on, hey, this gets 56% of the votes. I don't really care so much which creative asset wins. I care much more about the detailed feedback. And so every person that answers your poll is required to give you a detailed explanation as to why they chose that specific option. And that's really where the magic comes from. That's really where you get these out of the box, innovative ideas that you probably would not have even thought of. So with that being said, let's jump in. These are the most common tests, the most common use cases that people use for PickFu. And so you can use PickFu kind of at every step along the journey, from when you first start out with trying to figure out what's your USP, trying to figure out your initial concepting of your design of your product. You can use it in pre-creative direction. I'm going to show an example of that on the next slide. That's essentially before you would actually go and do your photography work, right? Which is very expensive. To go actually around the internet and try to find good examples for inspiration to actually go and do that photography shoot. And then also a post creative audit. So once your assets have been created, once your creative team makes your images, to go back, benchmark these against the competitors and see, what did I do well? What could still be improved upon? So this is a thing that I get a lot of questions on, and this is a brand new application that we just started using for PickFu. And so basically what we're doing here is, so this is actually for a hand sanitizer, a travel hand sanitizer. And before going into the photography shoot, what this agency decided to do is they actually went and tested 3 different options of an area which would show hand sanitizer being in use, like someone putting it in a suitcase, someone putting it in a purse. And what they did is they actually found out that this is a really appealing image. And then so they went and tried to recreate this later down the road, which again, pre-creative direction before going into that photography shoot, using pre-creative direction to see what is already going to resonate with the customer. So let's walk through some of the examples. I'm going to start first with branding. Really common example here. You're launching a new product, you're launching a new brand, and you have to decide between 2 different brand names. And so this is for a line of health supplements. They have Get Up Labs versus Vim Labs. This is a really good example that I like here. This is an individual testing between 2 different versions of a logo for a natural line of wood furniture. What's really interesting about this poll is that, if someone had just sent me option B, I'd say, this is a pretty good logo, right? It's clean, it looks good. But for the natural line of wood furniture, the results from the PickFu poll, the detailed feedback was saying that they liked the text because it was thinner and it looked more elegant, but they also really liked that it was a tree and it was much more clear versus this logo. What is this? Is this a house? Is it a bed? And so small changes like this really can make a big difference down the road, and you can find out very quickly. In terms of product design, right? This is another really big application. Maybe you've used your product research tools and you figured out that this breakfast in bed tray is a fantastic product. But how do you know which color, which wood grain to sell it in? Should you use option A or option B, right? This makes that decision much, much easier. Same thing here with this home sweet home sign, right? You figured out you want to sell this home sweet home sign. This is actually part of a 4-part test. That's why you see B and C. But people really the feedback was that they like to see the American flag inside of the heart versus separate here. It's a little bit more of a simplistic design. Again, PickFu makes these decisions very easy. If you're thinking about launching a product, I know we're in Q4 right now. A lot of people think about putting bonus items into the product. And so PickFu can help you actually determine, is the bonus item something that's actually going to make the product perform better, that people are actually going to get value out of, like this webcam privacy cover actually helps the webcam perform better versus just deciding to put these resistance bands in with these leggings, right? Does it really help the product work better, or is it just some extra piece of plastic that was cheap and you're putting into the package? As well, right? If you're trying to decide on which quantities you want to sell, right? You might have done your product research and found that eco-friendly plates are super hot and everyone wants to buy them. But how do you know if you should sell in a 25 pack, a 50 pack, a 100 or a 300 pack? If your MOQ is 500, 1,000 units, it'd be a pretty big mistake if people actually want to buy a 100 pack of these plates and you actually sourced yours in a 25 pack. What I like to do is to break down the product during the design phase into all of the different components and then test different types of colors of zipper, different materials, different threads, different strap and handle types. And so again, before you go and spend all of the money launching a product, integrate PickFu into your design process just to make sure that you're not doing anything that's really wrong. Okay, in terms of product packaging, this is another really big example. So again, when you're doing product packaging, this is something that is very expensive. The turnaround time can really be long, right? Once you put out one version of your product packaging, it might take a significant amount of time. You might have to sell through a lot of inventory. And so just again, before you would go and put out this version of the product packaging, test a couple different color variations and see, oh my goodness, just by making it a little bit darker, people really like option B rather, versus option A. This is a really good example as well. This is for an immune support supplement. And again, what I like about this is that if I were to cover up option A and B and my creative team were to send me option C, I'd say this product packaging looks really good, right? It's clean, it looks really nice. But the feedback from the PickFu poll, the reason option A and B got more votes is because people really didn't like the block format here. They really like seeing it in a list format. Further, the reason that people liked option A the most is because this is an immune support supplement. People already know what it's trying to do, but they really like that in option A, it showed the ingredients really front and center. So people are expecting to see things like zinc, to see things like vitamin C in this immune support supplement. And so again, these are small changes that you probably might not be able to pick up on your own, but have a huge impact later down the road when someone's shopping in terms of conversion rate, in terms of click-through rate from a main image. In terms of copywriting, this is another really powerful example. Your product research tools might tell you which words need to be in your listing, which words need to be in your bullet points. But PickFu can help you test and see which format, which arrangement of the words can really work even better. And so there's no real question here that option A is going to be the winner for this electric desk fan. I mean, option B just doesn't look so good. But what I really like is for this concept of leading words. And this is, again, a new tactic that we're seeing people use on PickFu. Now, don't try to do the capital bullet points anymore. That is something that Amazon is really kind of cracking down on now. But essentially, your leading words, most people already know that Amazon shoppers are only usually going to read your first 3 bullet points. And when they do read them, they're going to skim your bullet points. And so the leading words are just the words that start off the sentence, so that if someone is reading these, if they're just skimming, it should give an indication about what the rest of the bullet point is about. And so you can use PickFu to come in here for, again, for this electric desk fan and say, are the words powerful, wind, and quietness? If I only read those words, if I'm just skimming, is it really going to give me the best indication of what the rest of this sentence is about? Again, if someone's just on your listing for a few seconds or they're just skimming through, you want to be able to send as much valuable information to them so that they can make a good buying decision. And PickFu can help you test those different leading words. You can also do the same thing with your title, right? Just again, you know which words probably need to be in your title, but you can use PickFu to move the order, move the position of the words just to optimize the clarity and intent. What I like to do is when I have my copywriting team, when they're writing my product packaging, when they're writing my descriptions, I like to say, hey, go and create a version that's informative and then create a version that's humorous. And then I'll open up both of those into PickFu and I'll see which one is going to better resonate with the customer. Okay, so getting into images now, this is a big application. When I first started selling on Amazon, you could get away with an image like this. These are for reusable grocery bags. It looks clean, it's symmetrical, it looks nice. But when I compare it to this image on the right-hand side, right, there's really not that much of a comparison. You can see very clearly how many items are included, how many bags rather are included. You can see the size of the things that they hold. You can even see that this bag here doesn't have holes, so you can put coffee beans in it and they're not going to spill out. The colors just look really vibrant. There's a lot of good contrast. And so you can use PickFu to help determine, okay, does this image, especially for main images, does this do a good job of right from the first page of search results, explain what the product does and help people to gain interest, to get their eyes and to click into the listing. And so I really like this option here, this example rather, because it's showing if I only saw option B, what is this product, right? Is it something that I'm going to find in my workshop? No, it's very clear. This is for peeling the exterior of an apple. You can use this as well for infographics, right? Again, you want to think about, and what PickFu is really helpful for is optimizing the messaging that you're sending. And so if someone is only going to look at something for a couple seconds, you want to be very sure that the messaging you're sending is very clear. It gets into their head and they understand, okay, I understand what this is trying to tell me. And so what I like about this example is that both of these options for this infographic are trying to show the exact same thing. They're trying to show with these Bluetooth headphones how easy it is to pair them with your phone, right? It's a common objection people have with this product. And so again, both of these graphics are trying to do the exact same thing, but the reason that option B is the winner here is because it's very clean, it's very simple. It shows how big the product is. It shows the phone with the pairing menu. This over on the left-hand side, right? What is this thing here? What's this background? What's going on? And again, both of these are 2 top sellers of this product. And just using PickFu can help you determine if you were going to go and try to sell a similar set of Bluetooth headphones, you could learn things from both of these just with the feedback in PickFu. This is a really good example as well. Like I said earlier, you can test up to 8 options simultaneously with PickFu. This is for a jade roller. And again, all 3 of these images are trying to do the exact same thing. They're trying to show the before and after of what your face is going to look like using this jade roller. And so again, right, these are 3 top sellers for this product right now on Amazon. And so if I look at all 3 of these, right, I can see that this one is the winner. But even still, when I go and read the feedback, people are saying this is kind of a creepy image. They like this, but it lacks some text. It lacks some context. And so again, PickFu can help you determine between these and see which one is the best for your listing. And if you're going to go and compete with these sellers, you could actually go and take these feedback back to your creative team and make it even better. So again, this is kind of getting to the end of the presentation. The big question we get is how many PickFu tests are normal? Generally, what we see is that sellers are using about 4 to 7 tests per product. The tests that I walked through today are the most common tests. Last thing I'll wrap up with before going back to the demo, and we'll check in and see how that one is going. Don't take my word for it. If you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, I'm not sure if customer feedback is important, I feel pretty good going with my gut or asking my spouse about my creative assets. Look, don't take my word for it. There's this company you probably have heard of called Thrasio. They're the fastest profitable company to reach unicorn status, $1 billion in valuation, and they use PickFu. In fact, we put out a case study where they use PickFu to optimize their brand Angry Orange, and they went from this original product packaging, and through many PickFu tests and many iterations, they went from this product packaging to this product packaging, and pretty much just from that change grew that brand from $2 to $20 million. So this stuff really does work. You can check out, we have a very quick testimonial on our YouTube channel, and you'll see the Vice President of Creative and Brand Strategy, John Hefter, talking about how they use PickFu for basically every major creative decision that they make. So again, don't take my word for it. These guys really know what they're doing. They've got a really top-notch team and they're growing a lot of brands. And one of the tools that they use is PickFu. So with that being said, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. We'll hop back into the demo. I would highly encourage you, if you have not used PickFu before, use the code OrangeClick and you'll get 50% off of your first poll. So as you can see here, I'm going to go through some of the UI and show you actually how PickFu works. As you can see, this is super fast, right? You can, what I like here is up in the tab, it'll actually show you. I'm very impatient, so I like to have these open while I'm doing other work. And I can see as the responses come in. So we've already got 47 responses for this, right? So I can click here, load the new responses. We've got 2 respondents answering. Again, this is a question that we get a lot. These are all real people. Yes, they get paid to answer these questions, right? They're also incentivized to, as soon as the poll comes in, they get a notification, and they're trying to knock this out quickly. Again, the goal is to help sellers go through many iterations of testing very quickly, not having to wait the full time of a 2-3 week A/B test. And so as I scroll down here, again, my question, which image do you prefer for this 50-pack surgical masks? When I'm setting up a poll, I always like to ask a question, but then give some context, right? And so I like to put in, what image do you prefer for this jade roller, for this Bluetooth headphones? Again, it just allows a little bit more context, allows the panel to really understand what they're looking at. Now, you'll see here, we've got 48 out of 50 responses. We've got Amazon Prime members. Not really a big surprise here that option B is the winner, right? But again, the reason that I really love PickFu, and I think the real value, is to come down and you're actually going to see all of the responses that people have given. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and we'll go through some of the responses in just a minute. Come down here to the bottom and you'll actually see things broken down by age range, right? So you can see at which age range, what were the options that people were voting for: education, ethnicity, gender, income. And so what's really interesting, and actually an interesting part about one of the previous examples with the infographics, is when you looked at a younger age range, younger people really liked option B, but an older demographic actually really preferred option A. And so while I don't think this is a super appealing image, if you're selling to an older demographic, that's what the benefit in PickFu is. If you really know your target market, you can get some really good insights. And that's the benefit of PickFu, because most of us are selling products that are not in our target market. A couple other features that I just want to really quickly highlight. This is really helpful, is so you have a few different options here in the individual response. And so you can pin, you can click helpful, not helpful, or ask a follow-up. So ask a follow-up is like, let's see what this person says. Images that show more of the product on them, like the one that shows the 2 boxes and 2 displays of the mask, are things that I would probably end up buying, right? So let's just say we had a question. We could come in here to this specific person and say, hey, like, can you clarify, what did you mean by you like to buy products that show the boxes, or whatever it might be? And so you can type it in and you can ask the follow-up question. Additionally, what's really cool is you can click helpful or not helpful. And so if you're getting here and you're thinking like, man, this response is garbage, I don't think this person did a really good job, you can actually click not helpful and you can say this was gibberish or this was not enough detail. And then what'll happen is if you click this is not helpful, we'll actually automatically go through and we'll replace that response for free with someone else. The other thing that's really good about that, you can also click helpful if you think, hey, this is a really good response, it's insightful, thorough, whatever it might be. And what this helps us do is over the past 8 years, we've been training our machine learning algorithm to, based on this helpful or not helpful responses, it helps us automatically detect when responses aren't good. And actually people who give not helpful responses are removed from the panel, and people who give helpful responses are actually given a little bit of a bonus. The last feature that I want to show real quick is this pin feature. And so what's really cool about the pin feature is that if I'm working with a creative team, maybe I'm working with my designers and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to learn from all these images and figure out what's my best main image that I can make. I can actually go through and I can be like, okay, this one's helpful. Oopsies. Okay, so the whole thing just finished. So now we've got all of our responses. We received 50 responses in 22 minutes. So it's noon right now, Eastern Standard Time. So it's like right during the day in the United States. So that's when the most people are online. That's going to be the fastest time to run your polls. So if I want to pin some responses, I can be like, this is helpful, blah, 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 blah. I can grab them. And then I can actually just copy this link and I can share this with my creative team. And so these will actually hold the pins in the responses. And yeah, one last thing that I'm going to show you, and this is where I'll wrap it up here, is we also have this, oopsies, let me just refresh the page. So you've got this word frequency filter here. And so you can also go through and you can see, okay, people are saying different things, and you can actually filter the responses by, people saying product or whatever the word might be. And so that is a quick rundown of the features. Augustus, I'll share this link with you. And so if anyone wants to later, they can go through and read the responses of the polls and see what people said.
Great. Thank you very much, Anthony. It was very insightful. And it's so amazing that you can get feedback from real people in 20 minutes. And I also liked your suggestion to use PickFu for doing the pre-creative work, like finding out the ideas which work online. And then before thinking with a designer what to do, you could run some tests. And can you tell us if you are planning any additional features to offer to PickFu users?
Yeah, so we're always working on new features. Our product development team, we actually just hired on a few more people, and so I can't tell you all of them. I actually asked. I was like, I really want to let them know early, but I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that we're specifically working on things that are specifically related to FBA and trying to create environments that is as close to what people would see in an FBA environment and matching the listing. So we're really doubling down. E-commerce is one of our biggest verticals, but we're really focusing specifically on things related to the Amazon platform. So people can see that come out over the next few months.
All right. That sounds good. And thank you very much, Anthony. And those who are watching, you will find the links below to try PickFu and get 50% off your first test. And thank you very much, Anthony, and good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Augustus.